Hey, you guys, I'm literally on a support group right now. Just sending out the notification that I am doing the live chat. So hold on one second. Thank you for entering the chat. Hey, Just Be Real, you are making all of them. It's so nice to see you again. So, as you can see, today's topic, inside of the mind of a narcissist, I'm basically going to go over their general belief systems. A lot of survivors struggle with understanding where they're coming from, how they're coming from, what in the world would make them think this and that. So this live chat, we're just going to talk about elements that make up their belief system. It's a really good thing to understand. It might actually help you piece together and give you additional closure on, whatever your situations were concerning a narcissist. And it's a great tool to be able to have in life. This is what detectives are able to do to get ahead of criminals. They create a profile, you guys, on these criminals. And by understanding or being able to channel that energy and look at things from their perspective, we'll be able to understand, why is this person behaving this way? And especially when you feel like it's the polar opposite to what you would even fathom to do. Okay. So hold on a minute, you guys. I'm basically sending out this notification to the private and the public support group. Right now I'm on the public one, and I'm just going to copy and paste this onto the other one so that they'll know. And good afternoon to you too, Just Be Real. And Narc Slayer says, I'm glad to finally make a live chat. Heck yeah. Okay. This is your first one. Aw. Well, welcome. One second here. And then I'm going to pull up my notes, which are in my cell phone's memo pad today. Because I really am a vessel, you guys. And when I get show topics and ideas, if I'm not near a pen and a paper, I'll definitely just use my memo pad on my cell phone, which is good for all of us who are, vessels, because you can forget things. You ever have like a really good idea and it's gone in instance? And you're like, oh, I should have wrote that down. Almost done, you guys. All right, so I have notified everybody, and they'll straggle in. And feel free to be completely interactive. Sometimes when I do a live chat, it's really just to push the content out, and then sometimes it's more of an open discussion. So this one is definitely more of an open discussion too, as I'm going down the list. So let's go ahead and get into the narcissist belief system. So I have a bunch of things here on this list. They're not in any particular order, you guys. So one doesn't have to really come before another. They were just basically, as they were coming into my mind, I was just throwing them on this list here, basically. All right. So one of the things that's a part of their belief system is that they actually have forever to fuck people over. They feel like they can really come and go whenever they damn well please, and that you're always going to be waiting in the wings, that you'll always want them and desire them. And as we're talking about them feeling like they have forever, there's aspects to them that wants to really deny that they're really mortal beings. Like, you're not going to live forever. You're not, going to be here forever. You might find actually that a lot of narcissists have issues with acknowledging that they're getting older. That actually might be a trigger for them. all the ones that I've met, they've been very sketchy about that. They don't really like to think about death and getting older and this and that. And I think subconsciously they may know, even though consciously they want to try to stuff that feeling, that they're going to have a day of reckoning one way or another. They're not going to be able to just get by on their looks and such. But yeah, they really do think that they have forever to play these games, you guys, and that they don't have to change. Another thing, a part of their belief system, is they really feel like the world should revolve around them. That's a part of their belief system, that the world actually revolves around them versus their world can revolve around them. We all have our inner circles, right? But the whole world revolves around you? Absolutely not. So, of course, that plays under entitlement right there. The next thing, a part of their belief systems, and this is just generally speaking when they're interacting with people, this is the type of mindset basically that they're going to be having and projecting out into the world. They really feel like your imperfections equal low self-esteem. Whatever they might perceive as an imperfection in you, they'll automatically assume that you have low self-esteem about that. I mean, the weird thing with that is nobody is perfect, so everybody has imperfections. But that doesn't mean that everybody has low self-esteem. But we're talking about a narcissist belief system here. So let's say, they may target someone if they feel like may not be as fit into people's social standards. Maybe someone that may be awkward or maybe overweight and stuff. All overweight or people that have a few extra pounds doesn't mean that they have low self-esteem. But they'll assume that. That'll be like something they're checking off on the list here. So they really feel like whatever your imperfections, or you could have a handicap, just because you're in a wheelchair, or, just because you have a fake leg, or they'll think that if someone has imperfections, they might automatically just be a person of low self-worth, self-value, and this and that. So basically, as we're talking about the narcissist belief systems, we're talking in essence about a person that loves to jump to conclusions, and they're very toxic ones on top of that. Another thing that's a part of their belief system is that their looks are enough to get by. So, of course, if we're talking about a person that's typically extremely shallow, they think that's good enough. So if they feel like, I have nicer clothes than them, I'm a better person than them. This is the way narcissists think. Or, my eyes are prettier, or my stomach is flatter, so I'm better than that person. They have very shallow lenses as to superiority, period, but then thinking that they're better than, but then also thinking that they can get by with, like looks is all they need to get by. Now, I'm not going to sit up here and say that looks don't count for anything and that they can't get your foot in the door of situations, but then, other things are going to come into play as well. So while your shallow external beauty may give you an opportunity, your brain is going to be what's going to be able to maintain that over time, Another thing that's part of a narcissist belief system is they do think that they're smarter and wiser than you and anyone else. And the funny thing about this is I've met a lot of narcissists who didn't even finish high school, not to say that the only smarts that count is book smarts. So I will intercept on that. But even when they are literally wrong, and you can fact check them, you can show them what the real truth is, it really doesn't matter. They really do think that they're smarter and wiser than anyone else. And that's a dangerous person, because if you always think you're smarter and wiser, you're going to always think that you're right. Okay. And if you always think that you're right, you're certainly not going to be open to change. So yeah, they think they're always the smartest one in the room. The next thing that's a part of a narcissist belief system is they think they're the best thing that ever happened to you. When chances are it's the other way around. You may have came into the narcissist's life willing to actually be a real friend to them, to give them real love, offer them something stable, really uplift them in life, even level them up, all these types of things. But in their mind, in their perceptions, through their toxic lens, they're always the best thing that happened to someone else. And obviously this is driving off of a person's ego. And no matter how much strife and drama that they've brought, or, that they're bringing into your life, they're the best thing that ever happened to you. And that's the story they're going to stick to with the new supply as well. And that's how they could say, oh, they're just jealous. They missed this. They want that old thing back, right? Good afternoon, Sherry D, and welcome to the live chat. Another thing that's a part of a narcissist belief system, is they do feel like they have a right, or they're entitled to the fruits of your labor without putting in any investments. They're the kind of person that's not going to be shooting with you in the gym, but when you're drafted onto the NBA, absolutely, they want to be there front row and center. If anything, they might even be a toxic source in your life, sabotaging you while you're busting your butt to make a dream, or, realize something that you're working for in your life. And they were actually, countering it, even though you reach that goal, and then you get there, they want to reap all the benefits. So they're extremely entitled, you guys, extremely entitled. They don't feel like, they have to work for anything. They don't want to work. They want everything on a silver platter. Another thing with a narcissist, they do think that they can smooth talk, their way out of pretty much any situation. And when I say smooth talk, we're talking about just lying, basically telling you what you want to hear, or gaslighting you, making something that is not it. So they really think they could smooth talk. As a matter of fact, they might brag about it. They might, when you first meet a narcissist, they might actually brag to you about having a gift of gab. They could sell a salesman, a blind man, a toupee, whatever. Like they do sell themselves. And because they have gotten over on so many people, it gives them this sense of superiority. Like, yeah, I can manipulate any situation, until they run into the right one. And furthermore, even if you do manipulate a situation initially, for how long? How long are you able to maintain it? What's the point of getting $1 million if you're going to blow it in a day? What's the point of being given the world if you're just going to destroy it? So they take pride in being able to lie and finagle. That's a good word right there. Finagle their way into situations, finagle their way into making connections with people that they can't maintain it though. So it's like easy come, easy go. Easy come, easy go with them. And that's a part of their karma, because people ask me, and that's a separate video about the narcissist and karma. But yeah, it's easy come, easy go for them, because they don't know how to maintain. They can't maintain anything healthy. All right. This is a funny one. That's a part of their belief system. But a lot of narcissists, they really feel like they're actually powerful, when they're actually extremely weak. They think that they're kings and queens and celebrities. They do. Like they might even flat out say that they think that they're royalty. And it's like, okay, you could think that all you want, but let's stick to what we know. What have you done in your life? What have you produced as a human being? What have you contributed to in society? They'll tell you that they're related to celebrities and stuff and try to act like they've rub elbows with this one and that one because, being as though they're so image focused, if they're connected to this one and that one and this one is that one, they're social climbers. So they want to perceive to be in the know and to, be a A-lister. And if anything, a lot of times you're a part of a catalyst of uplifting them, at least in the moment. Sherry D says, I was in training while helping a narcissist who was derailing me as I was in training. Yeah. Right. Because they don't want anyone else to shine lighter. And even if you're in a position of authority, right, they somehow need to undermine that because they don't do well with authority unless they're the ones in it, right? But yeah, a lot of times, they have that shallow image of themselves, even if they haven't done. They could be a complete bum. And yeah, I'm royalty, baby. More like a royal pain in the ass, right? So the next thing that I have here on the list is they really feel like you can't put two and two together. So they completely underestimate people. And I made a video when I was talking about the 50 Laws of Power. And that was the new version of the book that Robert Greene made with 50 Cent. For those of my bookworms on this platform, feel free to check that out. It's in its own playlist. But either way, I was just speaking to how people underestimating you can actually put you in the power seat, because when you underestimate people, you're not really prepared, and that will put you on the defense. And it's way smarter in life to be more offensive, like be more on the offense, preparing for different angles just in case. But narcissists, they definitely downplay you guys, and that's what makes you more powerful in a situation and dealing with them. Okay. Then the next thing about their belief system is they do believe they'll have the last laugh. They're sadly mistaken a lot of times. And I would say every time, really, if we're taking a big picture view of how narcissism work and how their life really ends up, a part of their belief system is thinking that there's nothing wrong with them. They really legit don't think there's anything wrong with them. And that's why you're not going to get that change or accountability with them. If they don't think it's wrong, why would they be changing or fixing anything? And that's why it's a dead end situation. For those of you who are still being patient with someone that exhibits these personality traits, okay? They don't think there's nothing wrong with them, and they project all their problems externally. It's always going to be your fault. Tell me one person has been with a narcissist, and you can't tell me that when you have a conflict resolution with them, one of the first things out of their mouth is going to be, was all your fault. It's never a moment of self-reflection on, what they're doing and contributing to whatever the issue is. It's always going to be somebody else, or it's a tit for tat. If you mention something that they did, they're going to try to find something that you did or make something up that you did. And it's like, okay, that's all fine and good, but can we stick with you first before we hop on me? That's how you get them in their emotional maturity. Okay, we can address whatever you perceiving that I did. Let's talk about you for a moment, But they want you on the defense, trying to defend yourself. And then pretty soon you're not even talking about what you were trying to address with them. You're trying to correct them or help them see that you didn't do what they're claiming, and that's manipulation right there, by the way. But yeah, they do. Part of their belief system is that they're always right. Okay. Now, this next one is pretty interesting too, especially as we're in a new age. A lot of narcissists, they think that they're psychics and that they're gifted in the spiritual realm. They really do. when they're really just parasites mimicking the real deals. I'm serious. They will find a cause because they don't really have a real identity and get behind things. They might even meet you and you're thriving in your career, and they'll try to get up under you and suck whatever energy they can out of whatever you can teach them about whatever that topic or whatever that is. And then suddenly they're an expert in it. And, I always say a lot of times, a little bit of knowledge can be dangerous in the wrong hands for sure, because they're never trying to be a student of anything. They want to appear to be the master and or the expert of something, and without paying any dues, and just very shallowly, you guys. Hold on a second. My phone memo pad just completely left. But yeah, they think they're psychic. And then this allows them to jump to conclusions, to tell you how you feel and how they knew you were going to do this and that. And then how they can try to speak negativity over your life and death over your life and just, negative things. They really think that they have a gift for understanding people when they really just have an elementary understanding of trying to manipulate people. And once the typical person that needs to increase their emotional maturity does so, you'll be running circles around them if you even chose to engage it, but you'll see them from a mile away, more than a mile away, honestly. But they think they're gifted, and they're these great psychologists, and that they actually have these spiritual gifts of reading people. And no, you're just a lower level manipulation or manipulator. Another thing that's a part of the narcissist belief system is they really do think they are victims in life. They do. They think they're victims. Now, what I'll say about this belief system is perhaps originally, back in their childhood, they may have been victimized there, but they're certainly not victims as an adult. No, they're not a victim as an adult. But, this goes back to everything is someone else's fault. And actually, by putting themselves in that position, they're actually depowering themselves at that point. But they're trying to empower themselves by victimizing themselves, probably with an empath, someone that may feel bad or fall for a sob story. So, you have to be careful about that, survivors, when people come with sob stories with you, and, be able to decipher, hey, is this just someone that's been a habitual fuck up in life? Because sometimes we don't learn our lessons, and there's a reason why you ended up out on the streets homeless and with nothing, and your family is gone from you, and all of these things, So empaths really have to, really tap into their discernment and become balanced with using their actual real gift of being able to feel energy from other people. Okay. Hold on, you guys. Let's see. Sherry says, oh, okay. Sherry says, I owe it to myself to complete it. And yeah, you're just being professional, Sherry. You're being professional. So it is what it is. I highly doubt, especially people who work in corporate America, if you're going to be able to avoid a narcissist. You're going to have to work with one. Chances are. It's just, knowing how to keep your emotional maturity and your professionalism. Queen Mother says, exactly. Always trying to turn it around, and by the end, you'll feel like you're the narc, wicked minded in games. But you won't, Queen Mother, if you have a solid, sound base within yourself, like knowing who you are. See, once I know who I am, how are you going to tell me who I am? Number one, you've been you since birth, and you've met this person what gives them the right to tell you who you are? The only way that tends to work is when someone is seriously disconnected from themselves, which a lot of times after dealing with that narcissistic abuse, you are disconnected from yourself And that kind of makes you susceptible to being so receptive to what other people have to say, you know? Queen Mother says they truly they truly are unhappy with themselves, and they project all the unhappiness and insecurities onto you. They really do. They really do. Grandma JJ says, I have felt a dark energy around them. I'm still recovering from the abuse 18 months later. I lost a lot, but you gain as well. You do gain, and there is a dark energy around them, and you do have to cleanse that from you, and you will have to recover from that, because they don't call them energy vampires for nothing. So imagine if you in real life lost a lot of blood out of your body. You literally may need a blood transfusion and, you know, get that blood retraced or replaced back inside of you. So yeah, you do have to recover, because they take a lot of energy, but energy can be transferred back as well. So it can be replenished. And, you know, definitely Grandma JJ, don't fall into the trap of just focusing on the losses, especially if it was material. Make sure you have a balanced outlook and you can appreciate what you've gained as well, because that experience was very intentional in your life on your journey. So you needed to get some things out of that experience to make you, you know, prepared for the next chapter in your life, and not repeating chapters, by the way. Right. I understand. Well, definitely keep trying. Hopefully you're getting all the resources that you can to help you with that. You know, if you're going at it alone and not getting professional help and too much time is going by, I would definitely get that. Or you can let me know. I mean, we're on a live chat right now. If you feel comfortable, you can let me know what you think you might be struggling with. I might have some words for you or some directions and guidance along that. And, you know, there's definitely a lot of content on this channel to help people coming out of those situations. Mr. Raven 2125 says, being away from them will give you inner peace. It will. It really will. You should begin to feel lighter and lighter, honestly. But it really depends on where you are or how much shadow work you've done and your emotional maturity. Because breaking that trauma bond can feel devastating at first, you know. But once, let's say this isn't your first rodeo and you end up with a narcissist, and it's not so much of a trauma bond, you're just getting rid of a toxic person, you know, it's going to feel different. But that first purge, when you're just realizing what a narcissist is and you've invested in this person and they did all these things and they betrayed you left and right, and now, you know, you have some wounds that need to be licked, and some healing that needs to be done, and some self-awareness to figure out, okay, well, what attracted me to this relationship? What's made me susceptible to this and that? And you start asking yourself these questions. It's a beautiful thing, but, you know, that process might be an emotional roller coaster, but it's a purge that's needed for your progression. But yeah, the more self-aware you are, or the more that you're in a better space when this situation ends, yeah, you're definitely going to feel that inner peace right away. And the others in the previous or in the latter, the inner peace will be there, but you haven't really claimed it yet or felt it yet, you know. So it's just maybe more of a delay in feeling that inner peace more than anything. It really is. And the longer you stay away from it, the better you start to feel. The longer you stay away, the better you start to feel. So the next thing, and I think I mentioned this already though, when we were talking about something else earlier, but the last thing that I had here on my list is that they feel like they're going to live forever. like they're gods. They don't really like to recognize that they're humans, because that means you have to recognize you have imperfections. So you bleed too, narcissists. You don't think you do, but trust me, if you get cut, you'll bleed too. So with all of this being said, do you guys have anything that you want to add to this, the list of the narcissist belief system? Fritz G says they've been away for 2 years now and can honestly say it's been over 10 years since they felt peace like this. 13 years seem like forever. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot, you guys. It's definitely a lot. For those of you who came into the live chat, you will be able to go back into it. But, I went over my general belief systems of how narcissists, how they're viewing the world. And they think their idea of moving on, we can just add this now that it's just in my head to say it. Their idea of moving on is just filling voids with other things. Is not ever going to be addressing anything. This is why they're going to rebound and be relationship junkies, or they have to find something else to stimulate them. So, they can be distracted from the work and the lessons that the universe keeps giving them opportunities to be able to see. And with that being said, a big part of a narcissist belief system, and this is a big one, you guys, is escapism. Like, have you met a person that was so much in the energy of escapism? Like, this is the energy of a narcissist. They're trying to constantly escape something. They want to escape honesty. They want to escape intimacy. They want to escape responsibilities. They want to escape accountability. They want to escape their flaws. They just have this huge energy of escapism with them. They're runners. And I made a video about that, I think maybe like a year and a half ago, on how much narcissists are runners. And this is why they just can't be there for you through thick and thin. Like, when the road gets bumpy, when there's actually going to be work involved, they're going to run. They're weak. They're not built for it. That's why they don't deserve to be married. Can you imagine making a narcissist your life partner through sickness and health, rich and poor, up and down? What? A person like that? A business partner? None of that. You don't, unless it's out of your control, you do not want that. But it is in your control, you marry, at least. Now, those of you in corporate America, if your boss or something is a narcissist, that's up to you. It's up to you to decide. Some people will leave their job if it gets to a certain level of discomfort or definitely abuse. So, and then some people learn how to fly more so under the radar. And I have made videos with people who have to work with narcissists. Queen Mother says they even think they can get away with breaking the law, thinking that they can talk themselves out of murder. Right, yeah. So we can put that in their belief system, that they believe they're above the law. That's a big one. That is definitely a big one right there. Chloe Christmas says the narc is now hoarding my 4-year-old's clothing. He's so mad about his child support that his punishment to me is keeping his clothing. Right. And you see how ignorant that is? Because, Chloe, you can't wear the clothes. You can't wear the clothes. The narcissist can't even wear the clothes. So they're just sitting there collecting dust from their own child. So their whole belief system is about imitation. It's about being the what is the Geico, whatever that lizard is that can kind of like morph and change, and they just like to be a liquid. You know, they try to get in where they fit in and be acceptable and manipulate to get what they want. So when a person is like that, from moment to moment, their standards, their boundaries are pretty much changing depending on who they're talking to, what group they're in. It really has to be exhausting. Life of Destiny says, I'm loving the consistency of your channel now. Oh my gosh. Someone said that to me yesterday. Aw. You know, you guys, I was working a lot in 2020 and it took me away from the channel in a way that I didn't want to have to be, but I had a lot going on, you guys, in my family life and my work life outside of YouTube, and it was hard for me to find that balance to come on here as much as I wanted to. Queen Mother says, oh Lord, don't get me started with work, the sacrifices I make for a paycheck. Yeah, but I would just say don't feel like there aren't opportunities out here because of the pandemic, because there really are, and there's actually a lot of opportunities to work from home. But survivors have to make sure that they know how to sell themselves and have good resumes. And actually, the planet alignments are really great for starting a business if you ever wanted to venture into something. It doesn't mean you have to abandon your paycheck when your business cannot provide the income to sustain your lifestyle for you and your family. But it doesn't mean that you can't give the extra effort to start something else in the background, or to make an exit strategy, or to see what else is out there if you're really unhappy with your work situation. You know, just see what's out there. Fritz G says, I'm glad she ran when it got bumpy, because now I don't have to share my success with her. Right. And they were already probably eating, you know, unfairly as it was, because they're never trying to make things even and fair. And the moment you really start to command that, they're going to leave. That's a great way to get a narcissist to leave. Command reciprocation. Life of Destiny says, yeah, lots of opportunities to work from home, which can provide more autonomy. Yeah. And, you know, sure, a narcissistic person could flood you with a bunch of emails, try to video chat you and all these things. But, you know, that's a lesser level to being in person with that energy, you know? So I pretty much went down my list here as far as the narcissist belief system. Well, I mean, I just thought of something else, because it's a bunch of things, you guys. It's always going to be more things that you could think of how a narcissist thinks. You know, their idea of taking care of a situation, again, is the escapism, is avoidance. You know, they might think time. Oh, let me disappear. Let me, you know, distract you. Like when they disappear, and I went on this with the silent treatment video that's really popular here on this channel that I made. When they're leaving like that, they're hoping that your attention starts to be drawn to the fact that they're gone versus the issue at hand. So, you know, that's a really large tactic that narcissists do by trying to give you the silent treatment. And they don't understand, once you're really evolved, you'll be happy for that silent treatment. Like, yeah, like it's over. I want you to give me a permanent silent treatment. Thank you very much. Right? Like, you're not punishing me. I'm not missing you. Right? Grandma JJ says they abuse money in the worst way. Right. They really do. And they equate, you know, just like I said about the looks, they're very shallow about things. So, of course, the more money they have, the better they are than the next person. but they don't think about other things. They could have made that money by selling a bunch of crack and cocaine to families in their own neighborhood, killing all these people. But, they made $500,000 or whatever the case, whatever they got racked up. But, they're the man. Are they? That's blood money. That's blood money. And all money is not spendable. All money is not spendable. And that's why a lot of times when they get money through ill ways, they're not blessed for it. They're not. Yeah. Saved by Grace says they love their money more than people. Right. They don't love people at all. So they love things, they love things. And should we even say that they love things? They desire things. They fill their voids with things would probably be more appropriate, because to me, they don't love anything. Anything is dispensable to a narcissist in any moment for their own survival psychologically. Because if you're running from yourself your whole life, you'll have to be willing to drop anything at a moment's notice to protect that way of life. So Mr. Raven says, I believe it's the spiritual warfare of good versus evil. Through prayer and Jesus, I was liberated from those demons. It definitely is a spiritual attack, and it is a spiritual warfare, because we're all vessels for something. We're all vessels for something, but there's certainly vessels of darkness. But God is so merciful, and the whole thing with the yin with the yang is that even a narcissist's darkness can be used to make the world lighter. And I say this in coaching all the time. Like, okay, if this narcissist never changes and they spend their whole life lost and confused and toxic and betraying people, that's the yin side. On the yang side of it, those people that are encountering the narcissist, they're going to get an opportunity, chances are, to get reconnected with themselves, to increase in their emotional maturity, and to learn some, hard lessons, but lessons nonetheless. So even the narcissist can be used for good. Nobody wants to really have to learn things the hard way and get it through the mud, so to speak. But that's what's happening in this situation. But, the lotus flower grows through the mud, plants, grass can grow through the cement to the cracks outside. So beautiful things can come out of, rough experiences. So Mr. Raven says, totally agree that we should pray for them and forgive them. Well, my feelings on that is pray for yourself. If you want to forgive them, that's up to you, because forgiving things that's for you, so that you're not walking around bitter. But my idea of forgiving a narcissist does not include letting them back in. So, a lot of times people think forgiving is also letting that person back in. Well, we're not together, but we could be friends now. When that person was just never your friend to begin with. And I've made a lot of videos on forgiveness. I don't rush survivors to feel like they have to forgive. But Grandma JJ, that's a great way of looking at it. Radical acceptance, and that's what the forgiveness can be an assimilation of, radical acceptance. So, does anyone have any questions about their situations? I always open up the floors. Saved by Grace says God doesn't forgive demons. Right. If they're not asking for it, he's not going to extend it. That's how God works. If you're not asking for it, he's not going to extend it. But for the human psyche, because we're not God, and we carry our emotional baggage, the forgiveness is so that we're lighter on our feet. And it certainly doesn't mean it was okay. It doesn't mean that I want you back. It doesn't mean we're going to stay connected. None of that. It means that I'm releasing this back out. Like, I had an experience and I'm releasing it. The experience is over. I'm going to keep the lessons and I'm going to release the rest of it. Sherry D says, we are supposed to love people and use things, and they have it all backwards. Right. Pretty much. And we could put that under there in a belief system. So if we had a pyramid of, the proper order, that we should be valuing things more than not, theirs would be the flip side, or we would have to turn it upside down for them. And then I wouldn't even say that, because in order to turn it upside down, it means that they still valued it. So if they never valued it, really, it can't even go in the pyramid. So on that note, we can't even put it on there. So they're not loving at all. They're just not loving. So if anyone has any questions about their situation, live chats are a good time to ask me questions, especially if you can't afford personal coaching with me. If you come into a live chat, it's a great time to ask me a question about your situation, or if you're just curious about anything pertaining to emotional maturity, narcissistic abuse, toxic relationships, healing the inner child, and general psychology. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. So the floor is open for that now. I do ask when you come into the live chat to make sure you hit the like button. I'm not really good at saying that, but it does help the channel grow. So I am trying to grow the channel. So show love where you can by just hitting the like button. So it looks like Grandma JJ has a question. And that's good, Mr. Raven. He said my videos have helped him. Aw, awesome. And he's been watching for over 2 years now. Well, Grandma JJ, you said, how can you get over to ruminating? For those of you who don't know what rumination is, that is basically when you're continuously thinking about, a same thought, which tends to be sad or dark. And maybe the narcissist said, you're ugly, you're fat, you're nothing, nobody want you, this and that, whatever it is. You have to start intercepting those thoughts and speaking life into yourself instead. We do have, I've said this like a lot of times, we have about 85 to 87,000 thoughts run through our head, and not all of them are ours. We don't have to claim it. We don't have to allow it. You're not crazy for talking to yourself, Grandma JJ. Actually, more intelligent people, the studies show, intelligent people do talk to themselves. And it's time for you to start maybe incorporating into your daily life, where you can meditate each day and actually speak positive things into yourself. I always talk about doing mirror work, where you stand in front of a mirror and look yourself into the eyes and you recite powerful, positive things. There are videos here on YouTube you can listen to while you're subconsciously sleeping that are telling you like positive things. It's just reprogramming yourself. And I think once you actually feel more self-worth and value for yourself, if something like that crosses your mind, you're going to reject it anyway. It's not going to be something that'll be able to dominate your mind. So the fact that it's able to dominate you right now, it just means that you have to do some more work in valuing yourself, Grandma JJ. You know? So you have to actually start speaking literally out of your mouth, speaking positive things to yourself. Queen Mother has a question. She says, do you have any advice on releasing anger? I try to find it within myself to forgive, but I can't help but look back at what he did to me and my child and be filled with rage at him and even myself. Okay, well, I do have advice for releasing anger, Queen Mother. I have a 3-part series video on here that you might want to check out after this live chat to help you with that. But the first thing that I want to tell you is that anger is not negative. You know, a lot of times we're taught that, you know, feeling angry is a negative thing. So the first thing I'll say to you is anger is not a negative thing, is what we do with the anger. So I'm really glad that, you know, you asked me such a positive question. What is your advice for releasing anger as opposed to what is your advice for feeling angry? You know, we're all human and these people have betrayed us and did things. You should feel angry. It's an indication that you are acknowledging that someone has offended you or betrayed you or mistreated you. These are just signals. When we feel these emotions, they're signaling us. Our brain is helping us to go out to be notified, like something ain't right with this picture here. So a lot of ways of releasing anger. The first thing, sometimes it could be a perception thing, you know, but if you are actually looking at things through the right lens, physical releasing of anger tends to work wonders for most people. And that's when you might get yourself a pair of cute pink boxing gloves or using exercise. Allow yourself to break some glass somewhere or something, you know, have a punching bag, a real one, not a human, of course that. But yeah, physical methods tend to be a good way of releasing the anger, and then learning how to detach as well, because you know, to say that you're in a state of anger about something that has happened in the past, it means that you're reliving it. Hold on, the chat is moving a lot. I like to look at the question that I'm on. So if you're reliving it a lot in our emotional maturity, there's something about that you're just not getting over it. So maybe taking a moment to say, okay, what about it is not allowing me to release this as something in the past and to not attach it to me in a codependent manner? You know, because whatever he did disrespectfully is definitely what he did. But it may not be helpful that, you know, your child is still a minor. So I'm sure he's not being this stellar citizen and father right now. And it's just re-triggering you back to everything that person has done. And that can happen as well. So stress management is going to come into place here as well. And you're angry with yourself. Yeah, that part of the question I would definitely take the most serious than even being angry with him. You know, what's done is done, Queen Mother, and you're not with him anymore. So all you can do right now really is take your lessons and be a better person. You know, you can't go back to that time. And if you knew what you knew now, you wouldn't have made that decision. So it's really not fair for you to stay mad at yourself. And it's not going to be to your highest being in your best self to, you know, dwell on things that you can't change. Because none of us are allowed to go back to the past. But, you know, finding ways to stress relief is going to be a part of releasing anger as well. And anger also can indicate having issues with acceptance of a situation. So, you may be in a space of not really wanting to fully accept your situation, because anger is one of the stages of the grieving process. It's a healthy stage, but you don't want to get stuck in it. So, most people don't want to accept that somebody has mistreated them or done them wrong. And then especially when there's a consequence, say, oh, I had a child. I have to raise this child for 18 years. I have to parallel parent with this toxic ass person. So it could keep you in that state. But the more you actually can detach from it, the more beneficial it's going to be for you. And then not giving someone authority to be able to have that type of power over you. Like, okay, he already got me in the past with this. Like, I refuse to allow it to be a part of my energy now, to stay with me today. Oh, he on that foolishness block, or, you distance yourself. Like, it's also taking control or empowering yourself to say what you will and won't allow to steal your joy and peace right here and right now. Like, okay, you did this back then, but this is what it's going to be for me now. Like, I'm not living out the rest of my life because I have a long ways to go. I love me and my child. I'm going to set up some boundaries and standards, not only with him, but with myself, that I'm not going to allow myself to get to this place. And there may be things that you just may need to work through. I don't know if you've gotten any professional help with it either, Queen Mother. So I don't know. I hope some of those things have helped you. Valerie Jones says, why is it that you block them and they already never loved you anyway, and they have the nerve to try to come back and get you again? Yeah, because the block doesn't mean anything to them. They see that you're in your feelings. They might take that as you being in your feelings. But sometimes you could just block somebody and be done with them. It's not really about being in your feelings. It's just about not giving them any straightforward entryways into your life. So, but narcissists like a push and pull. So a lot of times if you push them away, that's when they'll come running in, especially if they don't want you to get away. So I made videos on this. Like, you could have the worst argument in the world with a narcissist. You can say the most horrible things to them, and that's not going to turn them off because they thrive in that type of energy, you guys. It's when you're actually being peaceful and requiring reciprocation. Now, those are the things that are going to chase a narcissist out, but curse them out and be drama-filled and be low vibrational with them, that's not going to turn them off. They'll be talking right back to you the next day, or, they love negative supply just as much as they like positive supply. So they might want to take a good argument, So just to understand, how their psyche works with that. A lot of people be like, I can't believe they would ever talk to me after we had such an argument, or we went through this, or things got so drama filled. But they thrive off of that. And as long as things are drama filled, you're not coming together. There's not any peace. There's, all the things that they don't want to have. So it's really deducive to have it to be drama filled, if you will, So it works out for them in that way. And you're welcome, Mr. Raven. Fitz G says, should I move out of state because I know how much I honestly think she's going to keep trying to get me killed? Well, yeah. If you feel like someone's trying to get you killed and you have the option of moving out of state, I would absolutely do it. But don't do it in vain, hon. Meaning anyone that you feel could tell this person where you're going to be moving to, don't do that. You have to be very private at this point. And even if you have a social media, as far as exposing your location and whatnot. But yeah, I would put distance. Like, people have been so traumatized that they've moved to different countries after narcissistic abuse. Like, people put major distance between them and the narcissist. But I want to make sure that that distance is not just a geographical, physical distance, but is that a mental one as well, that you would never, break your no contact and eventually end up just telling this person where you're going to be anyway and such. So, but yeah, if you feel like someone's trying to harm you on that kind of level and you have an opportunity to put, substantial distance, I would certainly do it as privately as possible and without any type of, don't be hinting about it on your social media. Get your ducks in a row and definitely get away from that area. I would definitely do that, Fritz. Queen of Swords says, I have been no contact for 2+ years. He's been married and divorced since then. Now he's driving by my house a few times a week. Cops won't help because he has committed no crime. Right. So, just like with the Fritz, I don't know if you own your home or if you're just renting. Maybe you would consider moving as well to a new address. And I know you guys are like, why should we have to keep being inconvenienced, and maybe more of an inconvenience to stay there? It just depends on your situation. But if you have to be there, I would put cameras outside of the house. I would do stuff like that so that you're protected and you have evidence of, any suspicious activities. But in these situations, it's great to have a fresh start, you guys, wherever you can. Move and do not disclose it. All right, let me see if anyone else has a question. Mr. Raven says, yes, let the anger out and transform it into something positive for you. I picked up weights and a guitar. Yeah. Absolutely. You could take anger and write books. Okay. Writing is another great way to channel energy. So it's just about, channeling that energy into something that's not going to be to your detriment. Yeah, you're welcome, Sherry. Right. All right, let me see what's down here. Queen Mother said, absolutely. Thank you so much for your points. I will check out the other videos on this. Good. Sherry D says, someone said to buy plates from a garage sale and go down in the basement and break them on the cement floors. I struggle with anger too. I think I might have mentioned something like that in one of the videos, to break the dishes from the thrift store or something, the dollar store, Empress of Light says, I honestly believe they prefer negative attention over positive. Minds love to argue over literally everything. Yeah, they really do. I think they do as well, honestly. It's more in alignment with their general energy, And, they'll be that person in the conversation to be combative. Like, everybody's on the left side, they're going to go on the right. Everybody's on the right side, they're going to go on the left. Someone said you made a perfect meal, they'll find a reason why it's wrong. Like, they're just always looking for the negative and, basically pretty much pessimistic, at that point. Valerie Jones says, thank God I haven't answered none of the Hoovers. It's been 9 months and blessed. Yeah. And, it does take the average survivor about 18 months to, recover from these situations. Gina M says, why does the narcissist try to take on so many identities to define who they are? They also try, let me just I'm going to break this up, Gina, before I go on. Why does the narcissist try to take on so many identities to define who they are. They're not actually taking on the identities to define who they are. They're taking on identities to get supply from people, you know? They're not really trying to define who they are. They're just trying to fulfill their shallow desires. So it's not really to define who they are. The next thing she says is they also try to take part of your identity. Absolutely. They're majorly, especially, you'll see this a lot between girlfriend narcissists or in a friendship type of way, two guy narcissists or whatever. You might be doing something and, you know, you're succeeding at it and it's your gift. They'll try to piggyback, if you will. That's a good word for this. They'll try to piggyback and mimic it. They'll go start something as well. Might even try to become your competitor, you know, or they'll copy you almost. They'll copy you about 98% and then put their name on it. So this is where you also have to be careful about who you're sharing your goals and your ideals with, you guys, because they're not above it, taking credit for other people's work, and especially, you know, in a workplace. She says, and they use part of your identity to get some type of acceptance of people, right? Or, you know, that's why they want to be with decent, you know, upstanding citizens and people who are about something. It makes them feel better about themselves because they're really not on your level. If you really think about most of your experiences, you guys, with these people, they were never on your level. They were not bringing what you were bringing to the table. And when you deal with someone who didn't work hard like you, who didn't make the sacrifices as you did, and they're still not doing it, how on earth, you know, are they going to really be appreciating it and valuing it, you know? Valerie Jones says, you can find spiritual videos on YouTube. I sleep with the word in my ears at night and it helps a lot. Absolutely. Yep, you can do that. Queen of Swords says, thanks, I'm actively trying to move, but after 2 years, I'm back feeling nervous. 2 years and he's back lurking, stalking. Yeah. Well, block him where you can, you know. And some of them, like, they would spend a lifetime trying to get back in. But just think of yourself as a celebrity. You know, think of yourself as a celebrity. And some celebrities, they could have people making hundreds of videos about them on YouTube every day. And they ain't even never met these people, you know. Just know that when you're about something and you're moving high up in life, you're going to have haters. You could have a stalker. You could have people like this. It comes with, you know, success. It comes with having a shine, you know. It's just knowing how to deal with it, not letting it get the best of you, and taking legal actions where you can. Empress of Light says, so empowering to share our stories with others. Yeah, amazing how narcs behave much in the same ways. Right. It's, yeah, no matter. And I've talked to people all across the globe, and it never fails. It's the same methods, the same cycle of abuse, all of it. Express of Light says, I appreciate that there's such a large community spreading information about narcissism. Awesome. Yes. And for those of you who don't know, I do have a public and a private support group on Facebook. Every day, or, you know, most of the time, I'm putting up stats where you can jump in and ask for help or ask questions or get support from me and other people that are a part of it. You're welcome, Gina. All right, you guys. If no one else has any questions, it looks like I'm going to be wrapping this live chat up. I'll wait a moment to see if anybody else has any questions before we wrap up this live chat. And make sure you guys are all hitting the like button as you come in on the live chat. Is going to help the channel grow. And this is, the kind of channel that we need to really get out there. A lot of people need to increase their emotional maturity. And definitely a lot of people have been in toxic relationships. Pamela Perry says, I stayed with a covert narc for 20 years, finally no contact, but now my 23-year-old son is living with me because narc kicked him out, and he is now verbally and emotionally abusing me all over again. Well, Pamela Perry, your son is 23 years old, which means he's over the age of 18. And I made videos about titles on this channel, but even with our own children, we may have to love them from a distance, because the way that all survivors should be living their life, especially, after narcissistic abuse, and just period, my health and wellness comes first. Your health and wellness comes first, Pamela. So you may have to, have that boundary with your son where he can't live up under your roof if he can't obviously be respectful to you. That should go without saying, honestly. So you don't want to trade one situation for another. And I know it hurts because, that's a child you carried in your womb and you love them and you want them to be this and that. But sometimes children can become narcissists too, our own children. And then it's really going to test your self-love on a stronger level than it might have even done, towards the ex-husband. Because you may feel more attached or especially attached to your son. But once they get grown, no matter what you've taught them, all the manners and this and that, he also had another influence in his life, which was his narcissistic father. So unfortunately, sometimes children will lean towards the narcissistic parent and adopt those traits. Pamela Perry says, I feel so guilty because I didn't leave and my son suffered greatly. Well, you were there by your son's side, and he didn't have to choose to become narcissistic as well. He didn't have to. And because you guys went through so much, he could have chosen to not want to live his life that way as well. But a lot of times sons follow after their fathers. So again, you're going to have to, love yourself enough here. And that's okay, without guilt, to say, regardless, I have to set a boundary. It's no different than, if you had a son and he was strung out on drugs and every time he came over, he was stealing from you. You might have a boundary, unfortunately, until you get clean. And I know that you're clean. You can't come in my house. You can't, you don't want to suscept yourself. You don't want to feel weak because you have love for. Don't let your love for your son make you, do things to your detriment, if that makes sense. And it doesn't mean you love him any less when you have to make those boundaries. But when you allow him to stay there and continue to treat you disrespectfully, you're actually enabling and fostering that behavior to continue. So at least when you make that boundary, you may have more of an opportunity for a shift. And he may come back to you later in life. Man, Mom, it was rough without you. And I really didn't appreciate everything that you'd done for me once I was out there on my own. It made me realize this and that. I shouldn't have treated you that way. At least it gives him a chance. And with him being in a masculine energy or being a man, men understand best through actions. All the talking in the world, you can't talk to me like that. And there has to be a consequence. The best way to deal with people, yes, and especially men, is to have a consequence. They understand that a lot more than your nurturing, soft, mothery voice pleading and trying to get through to him. No. Yeah. So, if you want to, and you'll figure out how that could work for you. That might be saying, hey, son, this really isn't working for me. you have X amount of days to, figure out where you're going to move next. At least you've given him that chance. But then if he's been, it depends on, I don't know how abusive we're talking about here, what's going on, because sometimes it just has to be immediate. Unfortunately, they strip themselves of being able to even have, time to get more prepared. But they do that. You're not the one doing that. They're putting themselves in that position by their behaviors. Shoot, you didn't carried him and took care of him and tried to protect him through his narcissistic dad, and then he going to turn around. All right, you guys. But yeah, I hope that did help you, Pamela. And I know it's, as an empath, you don't want them to be in a wilderness. You don't want to have to give them that tough love. You don't want to have to create that kind of boundary. Well, yeah, see. And then once you do, you got to change them locks and everything, girl. Change them locks and everything. All right. So if nobody else, you guys, if nobody else has any more questions, I'm going to go ahead. Yeah, you have to take that serious. I don't know if he's ever put his hands on you, or if you mean violent as in, he's punching holes in the walls, throwing things, which are, baby steps. When we study domestic violence, those are baby steps towards, eventually putting your hands on someone if you don't intercept yourself. I'm sorry to hear that, Grandma JJ, and I hope your son isn't under your roof with you. Yeah, survivors have been through a lot, and if we could do it all over again. Like, children are wonderful, but through my observations and stuff, the person you choose to have a child with is so important, you guys. It's so important, because they're getting half of their DNA from you, and they are getting half of their DNA from them. Okay? And that's the positive traits and the negative. You can pass anger down to your child. You can pass narcissism down. You really can. Scientists have studied it. Some people are just even flat out born that way. But when they're getting half of that DNA, they're susceptible to that, because there was an energy that was exchanged when that baby was being conceived. And then the energy that you were even in when you were carrying that baby in your womb. And let's say you had a child with a narcissist and you were just sad and afraid all the time. That baby is getting hardwired for that. It really is. This is very spiritual, you guys. You don't want to have an angry man's child. I know. And then your child can tend to have anger issues too. Like, these things, and that's how you can see things become generational. This one was an alcoholic, the next generation struggled with it, and the next, and so forth. And as much as you love your kids, they could turn on the other end, especially if you had a child with someone is a narcissist. They could be susceptible to become one too, honestly. At least if they were an empath, you could teach them not to be a doormat. You can teach them to have self-care, but it's extremely challenging once you know that child has NPD or they are narcissists. Right, because, narcissists like to manipulate children. I did make some content a couple of weeks ago on that topic, Sherry, if you're interested. Oh, that's the twins, you guys. Hold on. All right, you guys. I'm going to get off of this live chat. because my mama duties are calling me. But it's always great to come on here and, have conversations with you guys. All right. So never give up on yourself, of course. Continue to do the work because none of us are perfect. We're not striving for perfection here, but we're just striving to become better. I'm telling you, the more that you can generally just learn about psychology, the human brain is fascinating to me. It really is. Natalie is saying, what age can you tell if a child is a narcissist? Well, let me share. I don't want to be on here too much longer, but let me just say this, Natalie. Children are actually hardwired to be narcissists at first for their own survival. But when they're in that stage of it, it's not toxic. It's not toxic at that stage. But if they get emotionally stunted, where they learn, hey, there's enough to go around for everyone, or you can be kind to people and get your needs met. If they don't learn these type of things, they just continue to be a narcissist. But children are actually narcissistic energy naturally just because they're so dependent on their external world. And as you can see, adult narcissists are what? They're so dependent on their external world, right? So children are that way, but they're legitimately that way. They can't go out and get a job and put a roof over their own head. And, they have to, there is a little bit of manipulation. They are studying your face, but once the parent, that's why the primary caretaker is so important, starts to show them that, they don't have to be this way. They could step out of that energy. It gives them a space to develop into a different type of personality, being as though children are sponges, And of course, you can't teach that to a baby per se, even though they'll see, well, every time I cry, mommy comes. But they're going to cry every time they have a need. They're not going to think, well, I'm crying every 2 hours. My mom is tired and I shouldn't cry right now so she can get rest. No, they need their needs met. And that's all they know how to do. And that's why you have to try to train them in that way. So as far as, that permanent narcissistic turning of a corner, I will have to think about that. I don't want to give you the wrong age, Natalie. I will look into that and maybe, because someone did request that I make a video on narcissistic children. Because I did make a video on how narcissists use children, but I didn't really make one specifically on narcissistic children. So maybe I can put it in that video. Okay. So I'll put that on pause as far as the age, to where what's the youngest age that perhaps a therapist would diagnose a child as a narcissist. Let me look into that. Because I do give information on here, but I won't give it if I don't know exactly. I'll find out and let you know, Natalie. But I do know that much, that they're just hardwired to have a lot of narcissistic energy. But, they're children and they have to learn, They have to learn. All right, you guys. Well, thank you for all the love and the light and the positivity. And I will see you guys in the next live chat. Have a nice evening, everybody. Feel free. There's lots of other content in here that you guys could binge watch. Take from it what you can to help you on your journey. And have a great evening, you guys.